Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Vault Hunters. As always, I am Door, and today we are going to hopefully build out most of our mechanism machinery today. I did kind of mess up and not dive deep enough into the crafting recipes to see how much of the mechanism stuff we would actually have to make to get things rolling. But over here on the left side, we have most of the mechanism stuff that we're going to need. Some other stuff is kind of extra, like we aren't going to need the importer and exporter. Those are just to streamline the storage system. But at the very least, we're going to need the drive array, and that is basically where we have all of our hard drives and stuff go into. If you're using the other storage mods, that's basically what this thing is. Now, to get it up and running, it's not too expensive. These things are fairly cheap. They do need echo ores, but thankfully we're only going to be making one of these, and we have the echo ore right now to make that, so I'm not too worried about it. But the main thing that's going to be an issue are these polonium pellets, and the recipe for that is pretty straightforward, right? We just need water and polonium and a fluorite dust, which we have a ton of that stuff, and it makes one of the pellets. But I didn't dive any deeper into it than that, really. But the way that we get polonium is by having our nuclear waste go through a solar neutron activator, which the only way that I can see how we get the waste is to set up a fission reactor. So we need to get one of these up and running. I'm going to try and build the smallest version of this that I can, which is a 3x3x4. So we're going to need at least 25 of the casings, and the casings are not very cheap. So we're going to need a lot of black opals. We're going to need woodedite, perfect woodedite, and we're also going to need steel. Now, thankfully, in the beginning of this pack, we did have the ability to get steel from vaults, which is now been patched out of it, but these were coming from the Simon Says rooms. So we do have a little bit of steel on hand, so we don't have to craft any of that, hopefully. But before I start crafting a bunch of these machines and stuff, let's roll the mod box that I totally didn't forget that I had. And that doesn't look good. What did we get? We got mechanism universal cables. So this is going to transfer power for us. So not really that useful at the moment. But anyways, before I start crafting all of these machines and stuff, let me take all of the woodedite and the black opals that we have. I'm not going to turn them into perfects because I don't want to make more than I actually need and mess myself up here. But I'm going to also grab all of our ore that we have from the black opals. Where is my woodedite? I'm pretty sure I just walked past it. Yeah, okay, so we have a ton of woodedite. I'm going to do 2 stacks of that. And I'm going to do all of the black opal as well. I'm going to take the stuff that we have in our filter chest as well, just to get a little bit more. Actually, I don't need the woodedite, but I will put that over here eventually. So the woodedite doesn't really matter. We have a lot of this on hand, but let's see how many we get from 2 stacks of this getting fortune down. We got 7 stacks and 36. Okay, so that's a decent amount, but we are going to need a lot more of the black opal, which is going to kind of determine whether or not we can make all the stuff we need today. So if we can get a lot from this, that would be great. We currently have 78 ore blocks down, so let's hope for the best here. We got 4 stacks and 26. Ugh. Okay, so as long as the recipes only require the normal black opal, then we should be kind of okay. That doesn't require any gems. This one doesn't look like it needs any either, but I don't need that right away here. I need that for the polonium stuff. So this doesn't need any either. These don't need any. What do we need the gems for? Oh, we need them for the steel casings. Okay, so those are just normal opals. And we're going to need perfect ones for those. Ugh. Perfect woodedite for that. Okay, so we're probably going to have to break down more woodedite. I'll let you guys know if I do. But hopefully this is going to be enough of the opals to get us going. As long as we can make the reactor today, then we're off to a good start. Ideally, I would like to get the drive array going, but we will see how far we get. I'm going to be jumping back and forth between the game and the wiki for mechanism because I've never used the reactors and stuff from that mod. I've only ever used the little single block machines, so I'm gonna be learning as I'm building here, and hopefully it's not too jumpy here. But let me get cracking with this, and hopefully by the time we come back we have something useful going for ourselves. So one of the negative things about building our base completely out of wood is that it's completely flammable. I don't have fire tick disabled. I don't have any of the cheat stuff enabled on this world, so it's all just completely standard vanilla. So if I mess up and I have lava too close to the wood or anything, then our entire base is going to burn down. Now, I do understand by doing this, we are also opening ourselves up to potentially losing most of our stuff. I don't know how big of the explosion, will be, but what I plan on doing is putting the reactor right here in the middle of this thing, because I was going to put a tree, but I can't get a tree to look decent in this thing, so I'm just going to leave it void for right now. But I want to put the reactor right in the middle of our base, so that we can feed the turbine, because the reactor itself isn't going to be producing power, and then we may end up swapping it out for the fusion reactor that then produces the power in its own thing. The one we have to build today is just basically a really dangerous boiler, effectively, for water. So that's what we're going to be doing, hopefully. And then if we click on the block here, we can see that it has a power buffer. We can also feed it lava directly in here to make it heat up a little bit quicker than just leaving the sources on the outside of the thing here. But we can see with just one lava source block, it's keeping it at around 241 degrees. Is it going lower? No, it stopped at 241. Okay, so as we add in more of these, it should get a little bit hotter. So I'm just going to use iron rods. We can change this later to full blocks or something if we want to hide the lava, but for right now, I think this is going to be kind of okay. And I need to go grab more lava. We have a ton of lava backlogged from the gold farm when we dug out the perimeter for that. But now with those other two sources, we're up to 454 degrees. So let me go grab some more here. I'm going to also fill up the internal buffer if I can. Actually, do I want to waste the lava like that? Because it is going to consume a lot of it if I do that. I am going to dump let's do 3 more buckets in there. We have this barrel and this barrel completely full of buckets right now, so I'm not really too strapped for lava at the moment. There we go. Cool. All right. And we should be close to 1,000 maybe? Not quite. We're sitting at 667. I did accidentally just shift click a thing in there, but if I put a... Oh, you know what? Hold on. Maybe we can. Maybe if I do this. Right. And then we shift click. Is that going to allow me to do that? So it was at 660 something, and it is going to increase the temperature even more. So we're sitting at 774 now. Okay. Nice. All right, sweet. So we have 5 source blocks surrounding this thing, producing a bunch of heat, producing a bit of power. We are producing 36.91 a tick. FE a tick. So not too much power, but hopefully enough to power the machines that we're going to need to get things rolling here. So let me just drag this out a little bit, and let's see. We're going to need to place down the metallurgic infuser, because that's going to allow us to produce these things, the basic control circuits, and then from those we can start making the other machines and stuff, and the other circuits that we also need as well. So for the time being, I am going to be completely manual with this thing and just feed the stuff in as we need it. I'm not going to automate it too much at the moment, just so we can produce exactly as many as we need and we don't have a bunch of wasted material at the moment. But for these circuits, we're just going to have to put in redstone and an osmium ingot, and that's going to produce those guys. So let me dig through the recipes and figure out how many of these things I actually need. So as that thing processes through our circuits, I completely forgot that I had a barrel over here labeled steel with more of the stuff in there, because we cleared like 3 or 4 of those rooms to get a bunch of steel from them. So we should definitely be good on steel, but we can't use these ones, the immersive engineering blocks. We can't actually break those down into ingots, so those are basically useless to us right now until we get immersive engineering, and then we have more steel on hand. But for the time being, we only have a couple blocks or a couple stacks of the mechanism steel itself. And this is actually not that slow. I thought it was going to be a lot slower than that, but it's already done 4. It's about to finish the 5th one. So with these circuits, I'm going to be crafting 2 of the enrichment chambers, 1 of the crushers, and then I will be holding on to 2 more of those because we're going to need it for the pressurized reaction chamber, which... Can we craft? Oh, we actually can craft that right now. So yeah, never mind. We'll make that as well. We're also going to need 1 of these, which is just iron and redstone. So I don't know if we needed those for the other stuff. Did we need those? We did not need those. Okay, so we need at least 1 of those for this thing. And then we're probably not going to place this down anytime soon because we need all of the other stuff before we can even use that thing. So we have the other machines made already. Let's make the pressurized reaction chamber. And again, we're not going to be able to use this for a little while until we get the reactor basically up and running, I believe. But we can now uncheck that thing, and that should be good. It also doesn't look like we can actually make the wind turbine. That's, I'm guessing, disabled in this pack, or maybe we don't have it yet, but I can't see the recipe for it, so I'm going to unlist that one from our thing. And with that machine made, we are just about done crafting the things that we need. We are going to need a little bit more black opal and a little bit more woodite, but not as much as I thought we were going to need. So this thing here needs some. It needs 4 perfect black opals and 4 perfect woodite for the cells or the control circuits. for this thing to get up and running. The other thing is fairly cheap to make. This is just iron and redstone, and this is just diamond and iron effectively to make the other alloy. And that's pretty much it. The only other thing that needs black opals right now is going to be this thing, the control rod assembly, because we need one of these circuits again as well. And then we don't really need any more of those things until we get into crafting these storage modules, which then we're going to be chewing through the woodite for these ones, and then the black opal for the tier 2s, and then more black opals for tier 3s, and echo gems for tier 3s. Oof. Tier 4 is more echo gems, and then antimatter pellets. So oof, that's gonna be something. But okay, yeah. Let me get these machines down and start producing the stuff that we need, and then hopefully we can start producing the last of the things that we also need here. So let me just start crushing this stuff. I can't crush it. Can I not crush it? Isn't that the point of this machine? Oh, we put it into the enrichment chamber, not the crusher. My bad. Okay, so we have one of those made. Let me do that. Let me plop those in there. That's gonna double the ore for us, and then we can just smelt that in our smeltery over there. It'll take 2 seconds. Let me also craft up the rest of the control circuits that we need for these machines. So we're gonna need a couple more for that thing, one of them for that thing. I'm gonna get the circuits produced, and that should be all that we need. I'm not gonna bother with the solar panels because then I'm gonna need to be running a bunch of cable, and I don't really want to be running cable. I guess I could just punch a hole through here, and it's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna just do this for right now until we get a better power situation squared away. All right, so now that we have all of the circuits crafted, we need at least one rod assembly, which we can't craft because we need lead. All right, I need to go grab some of that and smash it down and smelt it. So that's one thing that I can't do right now. We're also going to need at least 2 sets of these, which we don't have these things crafted. That's also more lead. Can we at least craft the machine that we wanted to craft? We need bronze, which we can make. How do we make that? We need copper and tin. Okay. And then how do we make this thing? That's something I don't know. We need pellets in an enrichment chamber. Okay. Oh, geez. Okay. We're also going to need the pressurized thing that I didn't think we would need until we got to the reactor, but we are going to need it now. And we need to take liquid ethylene. Does that change into anything else? Nope, it's all ethylene. Okay. And oxygen. So how do we get ethylene? We need one of the rotary condensators. So that's actually cheap. Okay, so that's just a bunch of redstone. This thing is just a perfect Larimore or Beniatite. That's not too bad to do. And then how do we go about getting the oxygen itself? So sorry about the awkward cut here, but I went down the wrong machine path. So I went with the purification chamber because if we take a look at the recipe thing, it tells us that 1 flint gives us 10 millibuckets of oxygen, which is pretty darn good, especially when you look at the other recipe, which it only gives us 1 millibucket apiece. This one also gives us 10 millibuckets, but that is going to have to use the ethylene, which we're using the oxygen to produce. So we couldn't really go that route. Maybe later on we can when we have a good source of ethylene rolling in, but I went with the purification chamber, which we can't actually pull the oxygen out of this item. We went with the pump from mechanism, and we can't pull from this regardless, so maybe with a different mods pump we might be able to. I'm not too sure, but right now the only thing this is good for is allowing us to triple our ore at the moment. So that's not a complete waste of resources, but we have that kind of just chilling out now whenever we want to triple some of our stuff. I also had to make a couple more of the reaction chambers because we have a bunch of stuff working now. So on this one here, this one is the one that is producing our ethylene. All we need to do is feed it some of the biofuel. It'll produce substrate and ethylene. That then is exported into this tank here. This tank is set to input-output on its side here, so it'll feed the machine on this side, and the rotary condensator on this end is what turns the ethylene that we have into the ethylene that we can actually produce stuff with. So we're using ethylene from the machine. It comes in, it turns it into liquid ethylene, which I guess is the gas, and then it turns it into a liquid. That then exports on the left side here, goes into the tank. The tank is the same way I think as the barrels, you don't really have a UI thing you can set on here, but we have the wrench, and I was able to drain the tank with it. So we have that taking the liquid ethylene and storing it if we don't have enough space in the machine here. But we have the liquid ethylene and the oxygen in this one, and this is producing, it makes these pellets that we needed for the neutron activators. So we have one of those right now. We have all of this stuff crafted. Also, the machine right here in the middle is the one that we went with. So on the oxygen thing here, it's the first one here, the separator. It's producing hydrogen and it's producing oxygen. It produces more hydrogen than oxygen because of the way it separates things, but it's fairly straightforward. We just need to put water in there. And since we have the infinite water bucket, it just fills it up instantly, and we can leave the bucket in there if we want. So we can just have this thing running constantly if we need that to do that. Also on this side, we have the mechanism pump over an infinite water source, and it's just pulling water and pumping it into this one so that we're producing the ethylene and the what is it, substrate stuff. So I was going to buy the other infinite water bucket that we have in our vendors because we can just pump out of that thing, but we can't rotate the pump from mechanism sideways. It only goes vertical, and it pulls from the bottom and outputs on the top. So maybe we don't need to buy the bucket and make the sink from the decoration mods that we have, because that'll also do an output of infinite water source, but I don't know if it'll automatically output or if we need the pump. So when we do get around to building out the reactor, which is going to be any minute now because we're pretty much at the end of what we need, we are going to need a couple more machines to be producing the fuel and stuff that the reactor uses, but we're just about there. But we'll end up using this thing instead of the sink, so I'm not having any issues with that. The only thing is that we need to make sure that we're feeding it power or it'll just stop. So that is something that the sink, I don't think, has to worry about. But again, I don't know how we get the water out of there because it's not going to automatically output, I don't believe. So anyways, let's craft up this thing. We should have all of this in the box here already. Let's have that. We're going to have some bronze, and we need these guys. So that should be mostly everything, I think. Yep, it is. Cool. So let's take that. And then this thing, I'm pretty sure we can't use it for any recipes until we get the nuclear waste to be making the polonium stuff. Yeah. So it only has 2 recipes. It takes lithium and turns it into tritium, and the nuclear waste into polonium. Okay, so that can actually get broke, or it didn't really matter, did it? So yeah, that can just hang out here for 2 seconds, and I guess we can start making the reactor stuff. So we're going to need 25 of these casings. So we're going to need lead and the steel casings. So let me take that. We might need to make more lead, kind of see here in a minute, but there is our 25 casings. We can only make them in 4, so we have a little bit extra. We're going to need at least 2 sets of this, so let's do that. We're going to need more casings here in a second, and for the time being, I know we need at least 1 of these. So we need steel. Let me take some of that. Let's craft up 1 of those. And I don't know how many of the reactor rod thingies we're going to actually need. So I think it could only be 1 or maybe more than that. Now, the only thing that kind of stinks about this is this middle bit is not exactly even. So for right now, let's just do 1 of these. We need to make it a 3x3. I'm also going to move this thing here in just a second. I just want to see how many of the fuel rod things we're actually going to need. So let's do 1 of those. We're going to go up 4 high and then over. I might have gone up 5 high, so I might have to change that. I did indeed. Okay, there we go. That's better. We're going to use these things on the sides here. So we're going to have fuel coming in, fuel going out. Or no, fuel going in, coolant going out, and something else. I'd have to look at the wiki because I genuinely don't remember, but I need 1 of the fuel rod assemblies then. So let me get 1 of those put together. We need the air tank. That's why I had that crafted. There we go. And for right now, I'm just going to put glass on the sides here, the reactor glass, instead of making more of the casings because I need more of the steel thingies, and that's at opals and woodedite. So for right now, we'll just use glass. And let me grab that. We can't do anything with this anyways because we don't have the fuel assembly built and running. So this should complete the multi-block here. And yes, okay, cool. So we need to give it fuel. We need to give it coolant. We need to pull the heated coolant out. And then we're also going to have to do away with the nuclear waste that's coming out of this thing. So for right now, it's not going to do anything because we can't turn it on. We don't have fuel. We don't have coolant. And to start off with, I am going to be cooling it with water until maybe later when we have better coolants and stuff and we're using a bigger reactor. For right now, I think water's going to be fine with this little tiny reactor. It's not going to be too hot, I don't think. Let's use the backside here as the export for the waste, and we're going to need a couple of these things. Now, if we break these, we are going to contaminate our base with radioactive waste, so that's not ideal. And then if we also overheat the reactor, then I don't know how big the explosion's going to be, because I mean, it's a little tiny one. It might blow up our base. It might just like blow up a little bit bigger than TNT. I don't know, but we're going to have the waste coming out of that, so we are going to need pipes, and I think we need to use pressurized pipes for that. I think this stuff counts as a fluid, so hopefully that's the case. Can I set a like export on this thing specifically? No, not that I can see. We don't want to change burn rates. Ah, there we go. We needed the wrench thingy for this mod, but now that is going to be outputting the waste on this section of the reactor. Do I need to, oh, I don't know what that does. I'd rather not mess with that. Okay, so I don't see it connecting with the barrels, which is a little concerning. I don't know why that's not happening. It might, for some reason, count it as a gas, and apparently so. All right, well, we'll leave that for right now. Those are gas pipes, so maybe the nuclear waste counts as a gas. That doesn't really make all that much sense to me, but okay. And let's see, we're going to have coolant and coolant coming out. So for right now, on the right side, we are going to have the hot coolant coming out. We're also going to try and build a tiny little turbine, and I believe the smallest we can get away with that is a 5x5x5. I'd have to look at the wiki again, but it's going to be a bunch more of this casing and some wind turbines and stuff. That's just going to help produce a little bit of power. It's not going to be the most efficient thing in the world. So I broke down our smeltery and I scooted our reactor over a little bit. I'm going to be giving this a 3-space gap and then building out the turbine next to this. Again, the smallest one I can make apparently is a 5x5, so it shouldn't be super efficient. I don't know how much power this is actually going to be producing. If we can try and produce enough power to run the machines that we're going to need to run for the fuel creation for this thing, that would be great, because right now we just have 2 of the lava generator things working, and we kind of don't have enough power coming out of that just to run the machines that we have over there right now. But for the most part, all of the parts for this thing were fairly cheap. The only thing that needed some gems was this thing here, the rotational complex, and then also these guys, I believe, right? Yeah, these needed a couple perfect benetites, and that was relatively it. Nothing else needed those. Everything else was just the iron and steel mixed together, basically. So if I'm understanding the wiki at all here, we can leave an airspace, or we can fill that in with vents, which I don't have any of the vents made just yet. We are going to need them. I don't know how important they are. They're fairly cheap as well. Yeah, those are really cheap. Okay, let me actually craft some of those because we have some casings left over. I accidentally made more of these than I need, but right now we can do this, unless I'm doing this wrong, in which case then actually, yeah, that shouldn't be there, especially maybe not on this small one, because we have to put these ones down, and then we need to put the rotationary thing and then the rods themselves. Okay, so maybe we don't need the vents for this tiny one. Let me get rid of those. Those were cheap. I don't really mind. But then we can place down the electromagnetic coils, because these are the things that I think are going to be producing power. Then we can place down the rotationary thing, and with that, all we're able to put in here is actually 1 rotor and 2 blades. So definitely not going to be making a lot of power with this thing. Let me get this thing. Do we have those made? We should. There we go. This should just go in like that, and then we can click the blades on there, and that should be good. Oh, you know what? Hold on. We needed pressure dispensers. That was the other thing we needed. We need to put these all around the rotationary thing itself. Don't really know what those are going to do. And then we might still be able to use these vents, actually. We can put them on the outside here, I believe. Unless I'm misunderstanding what those are on the pictures, but this should also vent if we need to. And then with those things there, we're not going to need all this glass that I made. So if we complete this, we're not going to see the particles because I have all that stuff turned off. So I guess we're just going to have to, they're going to have to kind of figure this out if it's working or not. So does it actually turn into like a full-on multi-block? It did indeed, I believe, because the blades changed colors, and we also have a thing on the top left there now. So cool, we did indeed get this working. The maximum... Oh, no, that's as much as it can hold. Okay, never mind. So we're also going to need to put vents or valves in it to pull the liquid in and push the liquid out. Although I don't know where these go. So let me dive back into the wiki, because it just says you can put them on the sides. So I'm guessing I can just punch these out, maybe? And put them here, I suppose, if it completes the thing again. It did indeed. Okay, cool. So yeah, we can put those there. So now this should be a working turbine. So we're going to have the hot liquid coming out of this, going into that, and then the cool liquid from here getting fed back into this. So yeah, that should be fine. I'm not 100% sure on this, but the valves are what's used to take the power out of the turbine. As far as I can tell, it's also what's used to pump the steam into it and pump the liquids back out into this. So these two are going to be for the liquids, and then on probably this side, we will knock a thing out here, and we'll put another valve in. Is that going to complete the multi-structure? Maybe? It's still letting me click on it, so I'm guessing that worked. If I take that out, can I still click on it? No, okay, yeah, so this does indeed complete the multi-structure, and we can connect with it. So this is going to be our power output, and I think, let's see, it's going to be gas that's coming out of this. It should be steam. So if we do this, we want it to connect to that guy there. So that should be feeding the coolant in, and then it should have water coming out of this thing. I don't think it's going to be steam again. That would be... Oh, well, maybe it is. So maybe with the small one here, we aren't actually going to be getting water back out of it. We're just going to be burning the steam that we're producing, because if we take a look at this thing here, we need to put these into the turbine to turn that steam back into water. So yeah, we don't have room to squeeze those in on this small one. We might when we make a bigger one, and then we can make like an actual efficient reactor and all that jazz, or turbine. But for right now, we should be fine. With that one going into there, we can then take... I guess we can just move these things around, right? There's no point in having it down there or up there. So let's just cut it right across the little corridor here. And then we can just leave the power on the side there. That's fine. I wasted some more rudidite making another thing of valves, but it is what it is. It's fine. So now all we have left is to produce the fuel that this thing needs to run. So this is actually going to take me a few minutes to get up and running here, but we should, when I come back, have the reactor, at least the fuel for the reactor going. I'll turn the reactor on with you guys in case this thing melts down and destroys everything we've done, but we will see that in a minute. But I'm going to have the fuel line going this way. We're going to have a bunch of machines out this way getting powered, probably with lava generators at the moment until this thing gets up and running, and then we can probably swap on over to having this thing fuel it. But then we're going to have the water on this side as well. I need to make another pump, but we're basically making all of this fissile fuel through this route because we can't go this way because we don't have the plutonium just yet. That's something we might be able to do later on, but right now we need to be making uranium hexafluoride, and then that breaks down into this machine or this machine. I'm gonna see which one I want to go down, but either way we go, we're gonna need a bunch of machines to be turning this stuff over into what we need. So it's gonna be a decent little machine line just producing the fuel for this thing, and in typical fashion, I didn't look deep enough into the recipes. So we need, for the fuel producer, we need at least 2 of these things, which is 2 of the echo gems apiece. So we need 4 echo gems for that. And then we are going to need one of the chemical dissolution chambers, which is also another 4 echo gems to produce that. So we need at least 8 echo gems to get our fuel processing up and running. I went through all the other machines. Everything is fairly straightforward. We need basic controllers and nothing too expensive, not the echo gem stuff. So we need those 2 machines to get our fuel up and running. And then if we also want to get our storage stuff up and running, we're going to need another 2 of those things as well. So we're looking at 12 of the echo gems that we're going to need. We only have 7 right now. We do have 2 of the echo ores on hand, so we can get lucky with fortune. That would be fantastic, but we're really not going to be able to go too far into these storage modules today then, even if we do get the polonium stuff up and running. So those are fairly straightforward, but then the tier 2 ones are also fairly straightforward, but then the tier 3 and tier 4 both need echo gems to be produced. So we're only going to be able to go to tier 2, maybe, So hopefully we can get there. I'm going to fortune down our echo stuff right now. So we have 7 in our inventory. I'm going to grab the one from the filter because we don't need that anymore since the statues have it. And we should have one here. We do indeed. Please give me some good numbers. Oh, I'm so worried. We need at least 12. If we can get 12, then cool. Please don't give me zeros. We got 21. 7 to 21. Nice. So we got 14 just from those 2 ores. That's pretty incredible. That I feel like we got really lucky there. That's fantastic. So now with those ores, we have enough to make the machine. So I'm actually going to do that now because I saw those recipes and immediately regretted saying I was going to make the whole line here. But we should have everything now to make it. We will have the fuel here in just a second, so let me get cracking with this stuff. Now, I think I have everything down that we are going to need. The only way to figure that out is if we get everything up and running and we can see whether or not we're missing anything. So I'm going to run power to all the things first, and then I'll worry about connecting in all of the water and gas pipes here. I need to still craft up a few more of these. I also cannibalized our little setup. I moved things around so that we didn't have to make multiples of the machines. This should be, unless I'm missing something again, all of this stuff to just make fuel. And the only one that I have to kind of manually keep track of is this one, and I think that machine right there. That's going to have sulfur fed to it, and then this one has to be fed uranium ingots. So I'm going to double our ore over there. I had to break down our purification thingy that we had and turn it into this one. So that's where that thing went, and hopefully I'm able to keep up with this stuff. I have to keep a very close eye on this. I'd really rather not have my stuff blow up, but I guess that's going to kind of be trial and error here. Hopefully I can keep an eye on it. I need more cables. Ugh. They are really, really cheap to craft. Okay, so I did run out of osmium there. I had to smelt some down with our other smelters. Since I broke the other one down, I have the iron ones that I got from the treasure room. Those things are very, very slow. Not a fan of them at all. So let me do a stack. That's fine. We shouldn't need more than that. We're also going to need more of most likely the gas cables, because we need to wiggle some stuff around here. For sure, we're not going to be able to power all of these with those 2 little generators, but I don't want to waste the black opals on the solar panels because those get very pricey very quickly. So we're going to need the normal tier 1 ones, and they don't look that bad, but if you click on the solar thing, you need perfect beniatite or perfect black opals for those, and it's 6 per single panel, and then you need 4 of those things to make one of the big ones, and honestly, I'd rather not. To be honest, I don't want to burn through all of my stuff, especially since we need the opals for the memory cards. Now, this multi-block right here, thankfully, since we're in a desert, I think is why the temperature is so high in the machine already, and we don't actually have to heat it. Or if you do have to heat it, I'm not sure how you even go about doing that. But if we click on the recipe thing here, if we just feed it water, we get brine, and we need the brine in order to turn it into, let me see, we need it for chlorine, and we're also going to be producing sodium, which we can use as a reactor coolant, which I'm not going to do right now. I'm just going to make some barrels and store this stuff until later, and then we might swap on over to that. But we need it for the chlorine, then the chlorine gets turned into hydrogen, chlorine, and so on and so forth. It all ends in that machine there. Now, this machine is also the one we need for the plutonium ingots, or polonium ingots. So, polonium... Oh, actually, no, it's not. Oh, I mixed that up in my head. Yeah, no, we make plutonium out of this. So never mind, we don't need to make another one of these. I just saw nuclear waste, and I thought that was the one we needed for these things. But nope, never mind, we're good. We just need one of those. That was the echo gems. This was the echo gems. I have the other 2 circuits in our box ready for when we make the storage thing. I would also like to craft up this thing today, but we have to get really lucky with the player gems, which I don't think we even have enough ore to even get close to getting that thing up and running. But let me finish setting this stuff up. I'm going to move the water pump over here, see if I can actually support all of the machines that need water being fed to them, as well as the reactor. This thing needs water. Then I'm also going to be changing all of the inputs and outputs on these things to make sure things are going where they need to be going, and I don't mix things up and end up breaking the line and having to use the little pipet thing or the dropper to remove things and stuff like that. So we're just about done. Let me finish this off, and we can see whether or not this thing actually works. Well, we have everything down and in motion that we need to have running, so the last thing to do is just plug in the gas and see how this goes. So we had 3 buckets of fuel built already, or produced. We have 3.4 buckets worth of fuel. before we turn that on, this is the entire fuel assembly in motion, right? And then we have some gas pipes going up out of our base, and it's because of the neutron thing that produces the polonium. That needs to be hit directly by sunlight, so we couldn't actually leave it down there. We had to move it out here. And once that gets running, I guess I'll figure out if my villagers are going to die or not. I don't know if this is going to output any radiation or whatnot. But we have the wastewater going into it. We have the polonium going back out into a barrel and then getting fed back down into our base. But all that's left to do is flip the switch on this thing. So hopefully it doesn't blow up immediately. It also shouldn't chew through all of that fuel very quickly. Ooh, that's loud. That's very loud. That's very, very loud. We're not going up in temperature. We're staying steady at 200 degrees, 220. We are gaining fuel, which is weird. How are we gaining fuel? I'm not exactly sure on that, but we are draining water very, very quickly. So that's not a good sign. This thing is rotating. That's a good sign. We have 500 power produced. Ooh, does that mean all of my machines are actually full of power right? Nope. Nope, that does not mean that at all. Although we might kind of start building up a thing. I don't want to leave this alone too long because, yeah, we're about to run out of water. So we either need more pumps or some way of getting more water into the system. I can't just put the infinite bucket in here, unfortunately, or I'd do that, but I can't. So let's turn this off because as soon as this runs out of water, the temperature is going to shoot up and then disaster is going to strike. So since I've been messing around with this mod, I've kind of learned a couple more things. So let's actually make the sink. I bought the infinite bucket from our vendors, so I still have the other one downstairs. I just bought this one from our guy, but we could do away with the pump actually because I didn't realize it, but the pipes and stuff for Mechanism all have their own sort of interface. So for right now, I'm not going to take it from there. I think I put the pump right here somewhere. Where did I put the pump? I put the pump somewhere right over here. All right, there we go. I found it. So my bad as well. If you can hear my AC in the background, it is quite toasty, and it's been quite a while for today's episode. So my bad if you can hear it, but I had to turn it on. It's too hot. But we're going to plop the sink right here, and then we should be able to take the fluid pipe and plop it on there like that. Give my wrench back, please. Give my wrench. I need to go back onto the item configurator, which is that guy there, and we're going to have this pool, and immediately it filled up with water. So this should hopefully supply enough water for all of our machines. The only reason I put it back down here is just so it's out of the way and hidden. If we need to access it again, I'll just dig it up again, but we should be relatively fine with where it is right now. And it's looking pretty good. All of the pipes are full of water. Is this thing filling up with water again? It is indeed. We are also filling up with fuel really quickly. I guess we did fill up most of our machines with power for it to run properly for a minute. So I'm going to activate this again. Ooh, we are just chugging through the water again, though. Ooh, that might be a bit of an issue. How do we supply it with more water? Because that's currently the issue then. Huh. Maybe the tier 2 pipes? That'll probably be the answer there. Let me make some of those pipes. While I'm waiting for some of the stuff to process through, I'm going to jump right into the elite ones, which are 16 buckets transfer, I think is what that means. I'm not sure, but it's more than the tier 2 ones. So I'm going to upgrade to the tier 3s. I'm just waiting for the things to process through the machines. So while we're waiting for that, I'm going to break down all of our player gems to see if we have enough of them to craft the atomic disassembler today as well. So if I've done my math correctly, we need at least 72 of each of these gems to make the cluster chunk things with these guys here. So we already have 20 of the sparkletine. Those are what we're going to need the least of at the moment. So I'm going to place all these things down. We have 22 Gorgonite, 30 Escalium, 29 Sparkletine, 31 Bogmanite, 37 Funside, 14 Tubium, 32 Puffium, 23 Ashium, and 24 Eupaline, or Appaline. I don't know how to say that one. But we're going to place all these down. We're going to fortune them with our pick. Hopefully we have some good luck here and get all of the 72 that we actually need. That would be fantastic today. All right, well, let's hope for the best here. Let's start with the Gorgonite. And we got 63 of that, but we already had some in our box. So we have 75. So we might have enough of that if I did my quick math there. I should have just took it out of the box, but let me do the Escalium. We got more than enough for that. More than enough for the Sparkletine. Bogmanite next. We will just see if we got that when we're done with this. Let's just fortune down all of these. Please be lucky. Please be lucky. That would be fan-freaking-tastic. Let's take all of these out. And let's see. Sparkletine, we have 113, so we have that. We are 6 short on Ashium. So that's a bit of a stinker. Puffium, we are good on. Iscalium, for sure we're good on. And the last ones here, we got enough Gorgonite for it. We got enough of the Eupaline for that. We are short on Tubium as well. Funside is clear, and Bogmanite is also clear. So we can't exactly craft this today. So sorry about the audio for the last few minutes. That is now fixed because yesterday I thought I was done recording for the day, and I changed my mixer settings all back to default, and I didn't realize that I had done that when I was recording, so my bad, but I was able to run the reactor for a little bit. We can turn this back on. Before we do that though, the battery in the turbine, we currently have 235 million FE stored in this thing. I think is what that means. It's draining very slow at the moment, so when we turn this back on, I need to keep an eye on this to make sure we don't fill up the battery and start wasting power. So this is going to go on until this is full, and I'm going to shut this off again. So let's activate this again, and we immediately jump on up to 317 degrees, and that is because this didn't revert back to default, but I'm able to run this at the max burn rate, which is 1 millibucket a tick, instead of the 0.1 that we were using. And the only reason we're able to do that is because of these pipes, but I also put a bunch of them on. Let me actually grab my shovel. This is going to get annoying. Okay, much better. But what I did was I put an output source on each side of the sink. So we have 5 sources of water feeding into the pipe. That's why if you look in the top left there, we have 3.4 million millibuckets, which is what, 3,400 or 34,000 something millibuckets or actual buckets of water going through the pipe. And then that's able to actually keep up with the water in the reactor here. So we're not dropping any water in the reactor or the pipe. We are dropping 1 millibucket in the pipe, but we're getting it right back, so we're not actually losing any water with the setup that we have now. Then all of the steam's going into this thing, and with the reactor on full blast, we are producing 5, or maybe not. Oh, I ticked it over. So we're producing 5.71 FE a tick, or 5,700 KF a tick. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but you can see that the battery is indeed charging. So we're making more power than we're currently using. I'm gonna let this run for a little bit because this is all the fuel we have left. I want to set up a bunch of stuff here, but I'm actually going to do that during a stream today that the video goes live. So probably a couple hours after the video goes live, I'll be streaming for a little while. I want to get the ore situation squared away so that we have uranium going into this machine, so it's constantly being fed the stuff that it needs. I also need to figure out some way of getting gunpowder, so I'm either going to be building a vanilla creeper farm thing to produce the gunpowder for that, or some way of breaking down material with the mechanism machines. I think there's a way to do gravel into flint and then into gunpowder that way, but I need a cobble gen to do that, so we'll see how that goes. Over on this thing as well, I changed it a little bit too, because yes, we were able to produce brine passively by not having to heat this thing, but it wasn't producing brine very fast. So I went ahead and put in 3 of these things, these resistive heaters, and what these do is they take the electricity and turn it into heat. So I didn't realize it at the time, but you can actually change these things manually here. So they initially start off with 40 a tick being used to produce some heat, and I've changed all 3 of them to 60, but we can change this over to like 500 a tick if we want to be burning that much energy, producing that much heat. It's only using 200 FE a tick apparently, not 500, so I guess 200 might be the max. But that's something that may change during the stream because we have 3 of them. I can probably pull the temperatures down on them to produce the heat that we need for this thing. I would like to get it maxed out so it's producing as fast as it can, but I don't think I actually need it to do that. I just needed to feed this machine, and right now this machine is the slow bit of this whole setup. But the whole point of today was to get this thing up and running so that we can produce the pallets. Now, we have 5 of them right now, and we're going to use all 5 of them for the display thing, or the drive array and the dashboard. That's where these 5 are going. So currently we're not going to be able to produce any of the drives. I will probably end up doing that during the stream because I'm going to try and let this thing run as long as I can. The polonium stuff is very quick. It goes into the thing that we have up there, and it's immediately turned into the polonium. So it's like an instant thing. So that doesn't really take any time at all, which is kind of great. But anyways, let's take all of this stuff. I think I need that. I need some lapis, which I don't have down here. I need some gold. I'm going to need some diamonds, which are also not down here. So let me jump up there real quick. We're also going to need 2 pogs for this. So let's get those crafted up. And now we should, or actually we need to craft this thing as well. So we're going to need 2 of these, right? Yeah, we're going to need 1 for that as well. And then what I'm also going to be crafting, because on the wiki it says to make sure that this thing is always chunk loaded, and there's only a couple items in Mechanism that allow you to do that. So we can make the digital miner, which we need an Omega Pog for that, and that's not going to happen because we want to use the Omega Pog on the disassembler when we are able to craft that. The next thing we can use is the teleporter. Now, I don't know if we have to build the whole thing. It's a little 2x3 thing, I believe, or a 3x3 thing. It's a little tiny thing. And that's what we're going to go with because it's very, very cheap. But the other thing that we can use as well is, I believe, this guy, the quantum entangle thingy, which we can't do because we need these circuits, and those are the ones that need echoes. So we're going to be making this guy, and hopefully we don't actually have to have it go anywhere because we don't need them since we have weight stones. But anyways, let's craft this thing. We should have the stuff in our inventory. We do indeed. There is our drive array. And do we have the stuff to craft this? No, we need lead blocks, which I have down here. So let me just grab those, and we have the dashboard ready to go in just a second. And this should allow us to interact with this item there. So we can't craft the memory cards like I said, but is this even going to show anything? I don't think it will because we don't have anything in there. Yeah. So this is how we are going to access all of our stuff once it's in there, because this thing doesn't actually have a UI that we can interact with. So now that's that bit squared away. We also have some crafting grids here, which is pretty nice. We can have those things rolling and not auto crafting, but at least allowing us to craft stuff from within the system, which is going to be nice. And last but not least, let's craft up the teleporter here as well. And hopefully we can use this only to chunk load this area. I don't need it to do anything else. We're also going to need this thing here, which is fairly straightforward and cheap. So diamond dust, glass, and those things, which we should already have. Also, I updated the pack, right? I rolled it up to the most recent thing. So I changed the stuff, and I swear the recipes have been changed for this thing because these guys here, I want to say these only needed the green ones, and that's why I was kind of happy about it, but they need the Echo Gem ones, which we do have, what do we have, 7 or 9 of them left over, so we can do it, which we are going to do at least the exporter because I want to automate the altar if I can. So we're going to do tier 2 memory cards, and that's something that's going to be done most likely during the stream. We don't have very many more opals left over. This is all we have left, 2 stacks and 8. So we're not going to be able to make too many, but we're going to make as many as we can. Hopefully we have a full array of them as well. That would be great. Probably not, though. The math there probably doesn't work out. But anyways, let's craft this, and let's see how this works exactly. So we're going to have to plug it into power. So for right now, I want this whole area to be loaded. So I'm going to plop it like over here on the side. Or do we dig down and just plop it underground? You know what? For right now, it works right here since we have an exposed power cable. So let's just do this. I'll move this when we need to. But it should just be something like this. And then it's getting power. Cool. Let's put the upgrade into it. And is that it? Do I have to actually activate it? Don't tell me I have to put another one down. That would be really bad. I don't really know how to test this. I guess I can turn the reactor off. We shouldn't explode. We're good on fuel. Yeah, let me shut the reactor off. And then let's see what we have in here. We have 354 power. Let me fill up the machines over here with some stuff to do. And if they process through all of it, then there's a good chance that it's chunk loaded. So I'm going to jump over to our ice farm and AFK for a few minutes and see if this all disables. So I went to the ice farm and then I came back after about 10 minutes and I don't think it was actually running. So I came back, threw a bunch of stone all over the place. And yeah, okay, so there's definitely stone still on the ground. It's been 15 minutes. I set a timer on my phone. These things are not despawned, but the stuff over here kinda is. So is it literally only spawn loading this one chunk? It sure looks like it, because that's outside the border, and then I did drop some over here as well. And this is all despawned. So that's not exactly great. I don't know if we can make that bigger. And I don't know if we need the whole frame. If we only need that bottom bit, because it only uses 2 power, and we're not going to be actually running this thing. So I could spam them all over the place effectively to keep the whole place loaded. So if you guys can let me know whether or not I need the whole frame, or if it's just the bottom bit there, I'm going to put 1 in spawn, so we don't have to deal with the mana thing disabling itself over and over again with the vanilla loader that we have. And then, or we're going to actually probably need more in spawn than just 1. We're probably going to need 5 there, maybe 4 or 5 there. We're also going to put them here for each chunk as well that all this stuff is in. So we need at least 3 for this, or 2 more for this one. And depending on how big our ore processing is, maybe another 2 for that as well. The recipes are fairly cheap. I'm not too worried about that. This thing is probably the most expensive thing because we need opals for that. So yeah, I'm gonna do that, I guess, as well. But for today, we have done exactly what we kind of set out to do. We got our reactor up and running. We got our storage drives in place. We just need to craft the actual memory things, which we don't have any yet. Oh, we actually do have 2 of these, but I think I actually want to use those for the exporter instead, because we have the echo gems to make one of these. So I only need 1 of them right now. Eventually we are going to need more, but I want to make 1 of these and put it on our altar. But I will do that on stream and finish off whatever we can on stream as well, and set up our ore manufacturing thing as well here. But anyways, that is going to be it for today's episode. So I hope you enjoyed as always, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.